Summary of Do the Work by Stephen Pressfield. Introduction. What is resistance? Resistance. What exactly is this invisible force that stands between us and our dreams? It's the unseen enemy we encounter when we attempt to step outside our comfort zone, whether it's writing, starting a new business, working out, or pursuing any goal that demands long-term growth over immediate gratification. But why does this happen? Why do we constantly struggle to reach our objectives? The answer lies in resistance, an invisible, insidious force that pushes us away from pursuing our dreams. It's everywhere, universal, and it doesn't sleep. It operates quietly, in the background, sowing seeds of doubt and distraction, keeping us from doing the meaningful work we are called to do. Resistance is more than just procrastination. It's that nagging voice that tells you, tomorrow will be better, or maybe I'm not good enough. It's a powerful enemy, and it grows stronger the more important the action you want to take. The larger the reward, the stronger the resistance. The feeling of being stuck isn't just a mental block. It's a battle with resistance. And this battle is not just a passing struggle, but a war that demands your determination to defeat it. To overcome this force, we need to first understand what we're dealing with. We need to learn how to recognize resistance for what it is, and we need to arm ourselves with the right strategies to fight back. Because if left unchecked, resistance can rob us of our potential, our passions, and ultimately, our lives. Identify your enemies and allies. The path to success begins with identifying our enemies and allies. Our enemies are those things that feed resistance, distractions, fears, and doubts. Meanwhile, our allies are what push us toward action, our passions, faith, and sometimes even traits we might see as negative. When you think about your enemies, the first thing that comes to mind is usually distractions, like binge-watching a new series on Netflix when you promised yourself you'd work on that novel. But distractions are only one part of the puzzle. Fear, self-doubt, and hesitation also play their role in feeding resistance. These forces don't just stop us from starting, they also make it hard to finish. Fear might tell us we're not good enough, while self-doubt whispers, "Why bother? You'll fail anyway." Together, these forces can cripple progress. However, our allies are just as powerful. Passion, for example, is a mighty force. It's what fuels creativity and innovation. When Picasso painted or Mozart composed, it wasn't just talent that made them great. It was their passion for their art. Passion gives you the drive to move forward, even when faced with obstacles. But passion alone isn't enough. Blind faith plays a critical role too. When we believe in something, even if we can't see it, that faith propels us to keep going. It's the belief that we can do it, even when there's no evidence to suggest we will succeed. Interestingly, traits like ignorance and arrogance can also be our allies. It sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes being too stupid to know how hard something is can work in our favor. If we overthink or overanalyze every challenge, we'll never take the first step. Steve Jobs, for instance, didn't stop to consider all the ways his ideas could fail. Instead, he charged ahead, driven by sheer belief and stubbornness. And stubbornness, that's another key ally. The refusal to give up is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. When you combine passion, blind faith, arrogance, and stubbornness, you have a recipe for resilience. These traits help you push through the hardest parts of your journey, fighting resistance every step of the way. A research diet and the 3-act structure to get you started. Once you've identified your enemies and allies, it's time to take action. But this is where many people fall into another trap: over-planning. We spend so much time researching, preparing, and getting ready that we never actually start. Stephen Pressfield calls this the chatter, that endless inner dialogue that distracts us from doing the work. Planning and research, though necessary, can also feed into resistance by creating a false sense of progress. We feel like we're doing something, but in reality, we're avoiding the actual work. So how do you combat this? The key is to go on a research diet. Limit yourself to 3 books on your topic. No more. This restriction forces you to act rather than endlessly consume information. The goal is to allow your unconscious mind to digest the information and guide your actions. The more you fill your head with facts, the more overwhelmed and paralyzed you'll feel. Instead, trust your instincts and begin. Once you've done your initial research, use the 3-act structure as a framework to start working. Break your project into 3 simple sections: the beginning, middle, and end. Whether you're writing a book, creating a startup, or designing a product, this structure gives you a manageable framework. For example, the social media giant Facebook began as a simple digital space for people to create personal pages. The middle phase allowed users to control who could see their content, and in the end, it became a worldwide community for sharing and connecting. By dividing your work into 3 phases, you can start filling in the gaps and taking actionable steps toward completion. Fill in the gaps: action and reflection. Once you've established the core structure of your project, it's time to fill in the gaps. This is where most people get stuck, but remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. In this phase, you need to alternate between action and reflection. First, you act by creating or producing something, writing a draft, making a prototype, or outlining a business plan. Then, you reflect. Step back, assess what you've done, and make the necessary adjustments. Stephen King famously writes every single day, including on holidays and his birthday. Why? Because the key to success is maintaining momentum. Once you stop, resistance can sneak back in, and getting started again becomes 10 times harder. Keep your focus on progress, no matter how small, and soon you'll find yourself in a rhythm, with ideas flowing and energy building. The trick here is to play like a child. When you're creating, don't judge or analyze too much. Let your imagination run wild, say yes to all ideas, and keep the creative energy alive. You can always go back and edit later. Right now, the goal is to keep moving forward, to outwork resistance before it has the chance to stop you. Overcoming the wall. At some point, every creative person hits a wall. Fear, self-doubt, and that inner voice of negativity rear their ugly heads. It's not a question of if you'll hit this wall, but when. The wall is terrifying because it forces you to confront all your insecurities, but it's also a necessary part of the journey. The wall represents resistance in its most potent form, and it often shows up when you're on the brink of a breakthrough. When you hit the wall, don't panic. Recognize that this is just resistance doing what it does best. It's trying to kill your momentum, but you have the power to push through. Realize that resistance isn't external, it's internal. It doesn't come from your competition, your friends, or even your boss. It comes from inside you. But just because it's inside you doesn't mean you can't defeat it. Resistance is like the dragon standing between you and your goals. It wants to block your path, but you must fight it to the death. The key to overcoming the wall is love. Love for your work, love for the process, and love for the journey. When you truly love what you're doing, resistance loses its grip on you. It may still try to slow you down, but it can't stop you entirely. Picasso, Einstein, Steve Jobs, they all faced resistance, but they loved their work too much to let it defeat them. And so can you. Conclusion. The war against resistance is a lifelong battle. Every time you set out to achieve something meaningful, resistance will be there, waiting to stop you. But now that you understand its nature, you're better equipped to fight back. Use your allies: passion, blind faith, ignorance, arrogance, and stubbornness to push through. Go on a research diet, get to work, and don't overthink it. Fill in the gaps with action and reflection, and when you hit the wall, keep going. You are stronger than resistance, and with persistence, you will win the war. Remember, the only difference between those who succeed and those who don't is the ability to keep fighting when resistance rears its head. So, when you feel resistance pushing against you, don't give up. Acknowledge it, face it, and use it as a compass to guide you toward your true purpose. The journey won't be easy, but every step you take is a step closer to your dreams. Keep fighting, keep working, and soon you'll discover that resistance isn't the undefeatable monster you once thought it was. It's just a force that can be overcome with passion, love, and persistence. Now, take a deep breath and begin. The battle starts today.